Hi, I'm Dries De Coster, CEO at Meet Dwight. Our digital worker bot Dwight automates administrative mundane tasks in and out of different systems, working 24/7 whilst never calling in sick and never going on leave. He can do the work of up to 12 people, but at a fraction of an employee's full-time cost. That's enough about us. Let's get on with the show! Well, good morning, and you find me on another beautiful summer's morning in Essex, just outside of London. About 25 minutes from here, actually, is someone I'm quite keen to go and interview, because we have some spare time this afternoon, and this evening. We are actually at an award ceremony where Meet Dwight has been nominated for no less than 4 awards, so fingers crossed we walk away with something there. But this person is a lady by the name of Jo Major, quite prominent on the kind of speaking circuit in the UK recruitment sector. And Jo is the founder of Diversity in Recruitment. So, you know, other than it being the right thing to do, to have diversity, equality and inclusion in your teams, actually, what difference does it make to a business that is results driven? That's really what I want to scratch underneath the surface of. Jo and I had a wonderful conversation on a terrace at a conference just a couple of months ago, so let's give her a call to see if she's about for a drive, a chat and of course a coffee.
Hi, Jo speaking.
Jo, hey, it's Dries De Coster from Meet Dwight. How are you?
Hey, yeah, I'm really good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I gather we're both at an event later this afternoon?
We are going to put our glad rags on and go and win some awards.
Well, yes, fingers and toes crossed and all that. I just wanted to see, before we do head into London, whether you had any time this morning for a chat, a drive and maybe a coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you come round in one of your fancy cars?
I tell you what, why don't we go in yours?
Okay, we'll go in mine. It's not quite so fancy though.
I'm sure it's beautiful. Cool, well, I'll be heading over now. It's only about 25 minutes down the road, so I'll see you very soon.
See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
Bye. Bye.
A few moments later.
Morning.
Morning.
Hello, how are you? Can I come in? Oh, bang my head on the way in as well.
Excellent.
You got me all flustered, Jo. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Put your seatbelt on. Are
Yes,
you ready?
Mum. Yes, I'm good to go, Auntie Jo.
Right, let's
We go for a coffee?
Let's do this. Let's do it.
Good. Beautiful wheels, nice MG. I like the leather.
Well, it's vegan leather.
Is it?
Yes. Vegan leather. I'm not
That's
a
a
vegan.
shame, I was hungry. I normally eat the leather in people's cars.
Look, it's a cheap Chinese car, right? We're not going to be having real leather scenarios going on.
Well,
and it gets really hot in the sun, though.
Oh, it does?
Really hot.
Because it's a bit darker.
I don't know, just because it's this fake leather, it just gets really hot.
Oh, interesting. But hotter than normal leather would?
Yeah, absolutely. My other car had a real leather,
Okay.
and and it was fine, but this gets absolutely scorching.
Oh, interesting. Anywho, right. You up for some quickfire questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's start with what your first job was, please.
So my first job was, obviously we had a little paper round gig going on.
Yeah.
But then
On the bike or?
No, not on a bike. I did it by foot.
Oh, right.
It was the shortest paper round of the whole shop, and I used to get paid £5.20, something like that, £5.20 a week. But you used to be able to take sweets out of your wage. So I used to do that before the paper round every day, and then by the end of the week I'd end up with like £1.60.
I was going to say £5.20 is pretty good. That's what my lad earns. He earns a bit less than that, and his is about half an hour shift.
So, and then
with inflation as well, Jo.
But I mean, that's just like typical me, really. You know, spending
on sweets.
Spending the salary before I've even got it.
Okay. And that's a theme that's continued through your life?
I did for the first quarter, probably the first quarter of it, of working anyway.
Funny. First car?
My first car, oh my gosh, it was an absolute classic, although I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Okay.
I had a Ford Fiesta, a 16-year-old Ford Fiesta,
right,
that had been in a ladies' garage for 16 years, and it had 500 miles on the clock.
Oh, wow.
And it was beautiful.
One previous lady owner.
One
Classic.
previous, he had basically just never driven it. And to have that car now, people would look at it in the street and go, oh my gosh, look at that, it's beautiful. It was immaculate.
What was the colour?
It was blue with a red stripe down the side, and I used to call it T-shirt. And it used to have a manual clutch, and I am not joking, it would stall at every single junction.
That sounds like user error.
No, it really wasn't.
Okay.
But it taught me how to drive properly. And also, it didn't have a wing mirror on, I think it was the passenger side.
Oh, what, factory? It didn't come with one? Or
Yeah,
what?
it didn't come with one, yeah.
Oh, right.
And that was my first car.
Very good.
I loved it.
Cool. We'll jump back to job for a minute and then back to car.
Yeah.
But what was your favourite job? Or what has been your favourite job?
I think, my favourite job is where I'm at now, like running my own business. If I think about my jobs in recruitment, I started back in the day in a Deco.
Yeah.
Right, so I was doing industrial recruitment, and I was branch-based, street level, doing these really quick turnaround, like industrial gigs where they needed 25 pickers and packers tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you know what? It taught me everything about recruitment very, very early on, and I loved it.
And
loved it.
People interaction as well.
People-
You strike me as a person that wouldn't have needed help with that, but it probably.
Do you know
helped
what? I
for you a bit.
mean, I'd had 6 years retail experience before I got into that during studies and whatnot, so I'd already got that behind me.
Yeah.
But you know what I loved, and I think this is what created this human, passion about human beings and the difference that a recruiter can make to somebody's career. It was about people that came into the branch, needed a job because they had untold responsibilities, and then I was like, right, you're getting out to work on Monday.
Yeah.
And
Being able to help them quickly.
Yeah, and seeing the
into
difference
wage.
and building there's something about industrial temps where the relationship was just so much fun, so raw, so real.
Yeah.
And the people would come in and talk to you about what their week had been like and what they were going to do with their pay packet that week and how much you'd helped them.
Yeah.
And there was all kinds.
They weren't spending it on sweets then?
No, they weren't spending it. No Cadbury's cream eggs were involved. They were spending it on grown-up stuff.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. Okay, favourite car, if you have one?
Favourite car. So I've never really been into cars, okay, but I think, do you know what? This is my favourite car because of what it's my first automatic car.
Okay. Is this because you kept stalling still at roundabouts?
No, it's not.
I jest, I'm sure you did.
Oh my gosh, as if
It was
you're
just a
remembering
Fiesta, we
that.
got it.
No, so it's my first automatic car, and I do a lot of driving with work, and I also, like, my family lives up north, so I go up north a lot.
Yeah.
And this feels like my first, I'm 47 years old, and this is my first grown-up car. and this is more about what this car
You're growing up too fast then, Joe,
and
you do not look a day over 27.
Okay, that'll be the Botox and filler. But it's what this car enables me to do.
Yeah.
And I think, you've seen the reef rack. I'm into my camping.
Nice.
And it's just like, it's just so nice to be able to, on a weekend, put all the stuff in,
And
pack
go.
it all up, put the tent on the roof and just
So
go.
it's you, the husband, and
The dog. Yeah.
Called?
Billy Noodles.
met Billy earlier.
Billy,
but he's
yeah.
not with us for this trip.
He's not with us. I was going to bring him actually, but I thought you'd give him too much.
Might be too much distraction.
You'd give him too
I
much
love dogs.
attention.
Yeah, I love dogs. Funny story as well about yourself.
Right, okay, so I'm not sure whether this is funny or whether this is just a diabolical story, so you'll have to take this as you will. But I can't believe I'm exposing
Go
myself
on.
like this. So,
No one's watching.
when I first moved down to London, there's a serious side to it. When I first moved down to London, not long, there was the tube bombings.
Okay, yeah.
And I was absolutely terrified of using the tube. So I
Yeah.
used to drive to work. I lived in North London, worked in Canary Wharf. Anyway, also liked to party a lot and drink far too much, as we did back in the day. And I went to work one day and was feeling incredibly unwell with a bladder infection.
Oh, no.
And so decided that it would be a really good idea to down about 25 litres of water and then drive home.
And how long was the drive?
Right. The drive was about an hour through, if you've ever, driven through London on an afternoon, the traffic can be horrendous.
Yeah.
So the situation was I was stuck in traffic, I had a bladder infection, I had 25 litres of water, and also my car was running on fumes because I had no petrol. Right?
So you had multiple stresses all combining
Multiple
into
stresses. I was having an actual panic attack.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I had my bladder basically gave way and I peed myself.
Oh no!
Right? I had my suit on.
I hope you had leather seats then.
No, they were plastic. And I was like I said, it was this scenario. So I peed myself. It was obvious. Do I go to the petrol station?
Oh no, don't.
And honestly, or do I just risk it and hope that I can make it home? And it was just, I will never forget that situation.
Which one of the two options did you go for?
I decided to just brave it out. And there was no way I could go.
Yeah,
I was
couldn't get out of the
I'm
car
either going
like
to break down in the middle of Hackney and have to get out of my car having peed my pants. Or I'm going to have to go into the petrol station with said peed pants.
Yes.
Or I'm just going to have to see whether or not I can
Get it all the way home.
Yeah,
and
I
it
got
worked
home.
on fumes.
But yeah, did you expect that?
No, I was not expecting. I mean, we do some prep, but Joe said I'm not telling you the story in advance, and now I can see why.
Oh no! And now I have an absolute fear of peeing myself in my car. So I probably know on the M1 and the on the A1, all my roads that I travel on, I know where all the loo points are.
And you always have an empty bottle in the car. We do, in the family car. Not for me, just to be clear.
Do you know, it's rather hard to do that as a woman.
I understand. But I also understand there's such a thing as a shiwi. But I've heard mixed reviews.
I've never used one.
Okay.
I've never used one.
You're a proper lady. I mean, after that story.
I'm not sure, but you know
I would
what?
have said before the story.
It's real life, and it's probably the worst story you've ever heard.
That is very,
about
very
a car
funny.
drama.
Obviously, you're a totally different person now.
I mean, I've not peed myself in the car since.
We'll take that as a totally different person. Cool. So back to recruiter days then. So Adecco, High Street. What came next?
I then met an incredible rectorec. Can't remember her name. It was ages ago, and she really figured out like what my values were, what my ethics were, and what I really loved doing. And she suggested that I go into education recruitment and recruit teachers. And that was something I never ever thought about before. So I didn't even realise that kind of market existed. So that started my career in education and not-for-profit, really. Going into schools. Schools were my own clients, primary schools in like socially challenging areas with absolutely no resources and whatnot. And yeah, recruiting teachers, I loved it. It was amazing.
Because
really
again, the theme running through this is you're helping people, right? And these are vocational kind of.
Yeah, and my end clients were kids.
Yes, right? I suppose that's one way of looking at it.
My end clients were kids, so the decisions that I made about who I sent into school had a direct impact on whether or not the kids got taught well that day.
And you actually, at the time, that's how you were thinking about it?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved
That's
it. There
quite
was
a mature way of thinking about
being able to go into a school and meet your teachers who are thriving in their careers and doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Head teachers like that person's made a difference to my school.
Yes.
Going into the classroom, you got to do all of that stuff. It was amazing. And watching your teachers teach and meeting the kids and sitting on the tiny little chairs and whatnot. It was really cute. And I just like, for me, because, I'd done my stint at Adecco.
Yeah.
Got what was, I felt, the best training, the best foundation. And then just went into that world. And you know what? I'm so pleased that I did, because I thought for a while that recruitment wasn't for me, because it was about targets, it was about commission, it was about competition.
Yeah.
And when really I was like, oh, well, that's not who I am as a human. I'm the least competitive person you'll ever meet in your life. It was about finding people jobs and going into my clients and seeing that they'd made a difference to the work, and that stuck with me for the rest of my.
Would you, kind of jumping ahead slightly, but would you say recruitment has evolved more as an industry now with the younger generation? It's oftentimes less about money now. It is more about why they're doing what they're doing?
I think the best agencies have people in them that really care about the impact that they have
Right.
on human beings.
Yeah.
And I found that there is more interest in industry, and the recruitment businesses that I get to work with, they're proper switched on and clued up anyway. That's why they're working with me, right? But they really invest in the education of their recruiters in their specific specialisms, and they're really passionate about it. One of my clients sends their trainers, I think it's every week, they do curtain training.
Oh wow, okay.
Training. Because they need to understand that.
Because they place people
Yeah,
that with those kind of skills.
and I just think that is it's great to meet recruiters who fully they're not just experts in TA and recruitment. They really know their stuff in their
and
industries.
that's the kind of stuff that technology will not replace, right? That kind of going deep to understand the clients. I did it with one of my teams in a previous life in the hospitality sector. I would hire great salespeople into the team, but they didn't necessarily come from hospitality, so got them to actually work a shift.
Yes.
You know, with the client, I basically rang up their CFO, I remember it quite well, saying, feel free to say no to this, but this could help you because you get some free labour. It certainly would help us because they'll get exposed to the job. So I love that.
We've got to know what our people are doing, right?
Yeah.
The people that we're recruiting. I just think, we've got to have an interest in it. Otherwise, it's just transactional bums on seats.
Yeah.
How boring to recruit into a sector that you don't care about.
Yeah, fair. By the way, when did you move down from? It was Yorkshire, right?
I'm originally from Leeds, so I moved down to London in 2005.
Okay.
I think I was 27.
What brought you down?
The bright light.
The bright lights of the big city.
I just can't even get my head around how brave I was. I didn't even really know anybody. I had a boyfriend down here. I mean, that was an influencing factor.
Was he the tattoo artist? Or is that a different
No,
story?
that's a different story.
We won't cover that.
We won't go into that. But and I mean, I didn't move down. For him, he was very clear that he liked long distance. But I'd been hanging out in London a lot, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know anybody, and I just thought, just
do it.
Let's just do it. And it was exciting for me, and I just felt I'd been in Leeds. Everybody's like, "Oh, Leeds is amazing. Why did you leave it?" But I've been there all my life. I just wanted to change. And at the time, I believed that you could go further with your career down here. It was that bubble of amazing London, and the streets are paved with gold and whatnot.
Yes.
Maybe too many children's stories.
Fair enough.
Because they're not.
And then, so flipping back, so education. What came next from a recruitment perspective? So
again, it was meeting another incredible rec who took the time to get to know me and went, I've got an idea.
Right.
Not-for-profit, charity recruitment.
Yeah.
Like,
did you jump at that, or did you have to think about that?
I didn't have to think about it. It was like, really? This is a sector?
Yeah.
People I didn't know anything about the charity sector. I naively thought that, everybody worked there as a volunteer.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that it's a profession, it's chief execs, it's senior leadership team, it's corporate functions that you get in a profit-making organisation. So, and I got to work with the most incredible business, ethically and culturally, I've ever worked for, a business called Prospectus.
Okay.
At the time, I was young, I was ambitious, I kind of didn't really realise what I'd got and how lucky I was. Yeah. But on reflection, I did actually interview with them years later, and they'd offered me a job back with them. But I decided to go into something else. But they were amazing. They were amazing, and I made some lifelong friends at that business. It was incredible.
So again, continuing down the theme of that kind of being more of a vocation in terms of the people you were placing. Yeah,
absolutely, and learning about the non-profit space and really understanding that the charity sector, in my opinion, is the backbone of British society.
Just massively underfunded.
They pick up so much slack. They're looking after us at the end of our lives. They're finding cures for cancer. They're creating services for our kids. They're developing medical devices that change people's lives,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of medical research and whatnot.
And like you say, whenever there's a gap where the government kind of steps out of, or
Yes.
the gap widens, they step into it.
Absolutely. That is exactly it. As soon as the funding gets cut, you know, that's a lot of people don't actually realise that the services that they're using is charity based. And actually,
a lot in health and social care as well, right?
Yes,
So,
health and absolutely, yeah.
A lot of that is actually backed by charities.
Yeah.
Again, like you say, some people don't realise.
Yeah.
Okay. And then where did your career take you next?
So I stayed in that space for quite a long time, the majority of my career. Well, yeah, for the rest of my career, I kind of moved up the ranks in terms of what I recruited into. So I specialised in income generation, so for professional fundraisers, corporate, high net worth individual fundraisers, all of that stuff. And then did some chief exec stuff. And then eventually moved into the HR space within non-profit.
Okay.
And recruited up to C-suite level.
So you went on the TA side?
No, I was recruiting senior HR professionals.
Okay.
And then my last couple of years on desk was very much focused on that kind of retained piece, which I loved. I was like, why have I not done retained for the whole of my career? Yeah.
Especially given it sounds like you would build deep relationships. Retained seems to make sense.
Yeah,
right?
and I just got to a point where I was just really competent, really confident, and I would be having conversations with clients about roles, and I would be in that position where if you want to work with me, I only work retained. Yeah. And for some clients, it was the first retained relationship they'd ever been on. And it's just, it kind of, you know, that's a bit of a pinch me moment when you've earned your stripes and you've done the work, and you can say, I feel this confident in my ability that you are retaining me and my time and my services, not the business that I work for. Yeah.
But so eventually you stepped out of recruitment?
Yes, I did. I moved into learning and development.
Okay. So
which was interesting.
Yeah, why did you take that step?
So I joined a really interesting business that was going through some big cultural changes. Yeah. And I was working for an incredible guy, and I'd got loads of ideas about where I felt this business could evolve and change and develop. And I'd not even been there that long. But there was a couple of things about this organisation that just didn't massively sit well with me. Not just the internal stuff, but also some of the things I could see that was happening within financial and professional services, and all linked to diversity and inclusion, who gets put forward, who doesn't, you know, like what it takes to get in rooms and all that kind of stuff. I'd gone from being blissfully unaware that your identity, background and your circumstances, it can impact your career trajectory, to being thrown into a world that I wasn't particularly used to. And even though I was still in the non-profit space, I was surrounded by recruiters who were recruiting into law firms, Big Four, banks, hedge funds and all of that. And so I'd started to do some social purpose, corporate responsibility work, and I developed a new product for the business, which was a pro bono trustee matching service. Okay. Right? So the one thing that you need to know about me is I absolutely hate cold calling and business development, and I'll avoid it at all costs. So I have a habit of creating stuff that means I can use it as a reason to reach out to people that I've not worked with before. Smart. And it doesn't involve sales. So it was because of my extensive charity background and now my HR network, I was meeting senior candidates who were looking for NED roles. That was going to be their next step, you know, on the way to retirement. Right. And what is a brilliant bridge from, you know, into an ed role, trusteeship. Yes, yeah. So I came up with this idea where we would do a free matching service, because I mean I could just pick up the phone and get half a dozen trustee roles on, right? And many of the charities that I worked for didn't have HR professionals on their trustee board. So and I sold it to the business, and I was like, look, the circles that we move in, we can use this to get in front of the HRDs that maybe won't see us, to place them, or don't want to hang out with us because they've got no jobs on or whatnot. We could,
easy in.
Easy in. And also the relationship that you build with somebody when you're doing something for free, I feel is very, very different. And it's still going to this day.
So more about that later. Shall we grab a coffee first?
Yes, let's grab a coffee.
That.
More moments later.
Okay, a little bit of coffee in a garden centre.
Cannot beat it. My favourite thing to do, hanging out in garden centres
just
with
lurking
coffee
behind plants and booing on people. No. Okay, fine. So before the little interlude, we were talking about how you ended up getting your first kind of exposure, I guess, to DE&I.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit.
Yes, then COVID did hit, didn't it? Just do you know what? I had decided just before, the timing, I couldn't have got better. I decided I wanted a career move.
Yeah.
So I did that ruthless thing. I handed in my notice. I've been doing another side hustle in the business as a learning and development trainer as well, as I mentioned before.
Okay.
So, but I wanted to go fully into diversity and inclusion. What
was it about that topic that you thought, this is now going to be my career? And actually, what does it stand for, just for people that might not know?
So for me, especially if we're thinking about recruitment, because this is a recruiter podcast, right? So for me, diversity is making sure that we've got access to as many people as possible with the right skills and experience, and that we are developing the demographic, the identity of our talent pools. So when I say identity and demographics, I mean, we're not just having, just white men and white women. We're looking at a whole range of different identity markers that make people unique, right? When we talk about inclusion, it's about how does the way that we behave, how do our policies, how do our processes impact the way people feel, right? Do they feel confident enough to apply? Do they need comfort? Are they confident enough to, to give it their very best at interview? Do they feel they can show up as themselves in our business? So for me, that's what diversity and inclusion is fundamentally about.
Yeah. And the equality bit?
The equality bit is making sure that everybody's got access to the resources and the fairness and the managed bias to make sure that your identity and your background and your circumstances don't impact your prospects.
Yeah.
So equality can be driven by policy. It can be driven by the resources that you give people. It's about the things that you do to level the playing field.
Right.
And make sure that everyone's got access to work and access to promotions. And
so again, it's all, the reason why you leaned into it was such an American term, isn't it?
Lean in.
Why you lent into it.
I did lean in.
Was just this, again, that strong sense of social kind of justice?
It was, yeah, definitely. But also, don't forget, I'm a recruiter, so there's a commercial element to it as well. So I'd spent a lot of time in my previous company, in front of, especially within the city, and law firms and financial institutions. I was the one that always got dragged out to the pitches and whatnot, and got asked to, support the proposals. Even back then, they wanted to, set 2017, 2018, they wanted to understand our credentials. They wanted to understand our, ED&I credentials and capability. It wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. Gosh, crikey. But I started to really understand how this, from a recruiter perspective, could give a real commercial edge.
As a differentiator.
To the
go-to-market.
And also, it was my thoughts that this is just the beginning of it. I feel that, recruiters are going to be held accountable for how they recruit, and also who they're recruiting. If our end clients have got these ambitions to become more representative of the communities that they serve, then they're going to do that through their TA function. And if we're supplying into that, we can't just say, oh, we are just going to magically make our shortlist diverse. We've got to do that through being able to demonstrate our recruitment processes are all aligned to develop talent pools.
Okay, so then you set up Diversity in Recruitment, your business.
Do you know where there was a little...
There's a bit in between?
There was a bit in between. I went to work for one of the trade bodies over COVID.
Yeah.
As I said, I was busy trying to get into the city and work in a diversity and inclusion role. And then this offer came to me and it was really, really interesting. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for that. And I ended up getting the job and I ended up accepting it and put the other things on hold because it was super interesting. So I spent just over a year there during COVID. Never worked so hard in my life, but got an opportunity to see above the recruitment industry.
Yeah.
Which that role was the game changer for me because I got to expand my network overnight and meet incredible people who were our members.
Yeah.
And also it just gave me that insight into, I know what my business is going to look like, right? I know what's missing here because I set up a diversity and inclusion program for our members.
Right.
And for me, the missing part of the jigsaw was training.
Okay.
And we were looking...
And you could easily see that gap.
Yeah. And we were looking for trainers and there wasn't a great deal out there who really understood the recruitment industry that would have the credentials and gravitas.
Yeah. To kind of go, hey, I've sat at your desk type thing.
Because I've been on a desk for 17 years. So what I've got to say is valid and credible. So that's when I then... decided I started forming the ideas behind diversity in recruitment.
Amazing. And so let's talk a little bit about diversity in recruitment. By the way, we'll put the link at the bottom as well for anyone that's interested. But what do you do for your clients? And ultimately, the real crux of this for me is, if you're a performance-driven recruitment agency or any kind of business, why the heck should you give two hoots about D&I other than it's just the right thing to do and you tick a box?
I mean, like, diversity and inclusion is all about high performance, right? It's about recruiting the best. It's about recruiting difference. It's about recruiting people who have got different perspectives and takes on things. Yep. It's about making sure that, you're reaching as many people as possible. And it's about creating sales environments where everybody can thrive and be successful. So, yes, there is a human element to it, right? It's about protecting people, but it's about building high performance teams for ourselves as an industry, but also having the capability to build high performing teams on behalf of our clients as well. Recruitment businesses come to me for two reasons. It's either human-led or it's commercial. Most of the time it's commercial. They want to develop their client services, they want to build out their retained proposition, or they've just lost a massive deal or a long-term contract because their clients are looking at their suppliers to help them with the diversity and inclusion goals, right? So I'm then brought in to upskill their recruiters to help them develop their client services and also help improve their talent attraction strategies, their agency brand proposition, how they communicate with candidates and improve the candidate journey. And I can link every single thing that I do down to the bottom line, right? I improve recruiter performance, I improve recruiter results, I improve the brand of the recruiter and the agency. I help my clients win business because they're differentiating themselves. Commercial through and through. There's no fluff when I'm involved.
You can't take the girl out of Yorkshire.
Like I care deeply about...
Sorry, you can take the girl out of Yorkshire. You can't take Yorkshire out of the girl.
You can't.
That's it.
I care deeply about the human experience, right? Yeah. People who face marginalisation and discrimination because of their identity sits terribly with me, and I do, and it's centred in all of my work. But I'm well aware that that's not going to fly for everybody. Yeah. And so I need to be commercial. It's not my responsibility to show a return on investment, but I show them how to do that, and then it's up to them whether or not they fly with that.
Have you got some for examples?
Well, I've got quite a few. I've got one particular client that I've done a lot of work with over the years. I'm very, very much, I want to help my clients gain the confidence to be able to talk openly and publicly on like social about what they do, and to really push the D&I agenda. And my client was really active. They got the confidence. They were out there. They were talking about this stuff. They weren't just talking about how passionate they were. They were actually talking about how they'd evolved their recruitment processes and some of the products that they developed. In particular, a no CV process, which I'd helped them pilot, and it was really successful. And as a result, they'd been watched by a client that they'd not been working with, who had a build-out project.
Right.
And they were approached, and they didn't even have to go through like a 12-month procurement process.
Yeah, they were straight in.
Yeah, they were straight, and they were awarded the work based on their ED&I, whatever acronym you want to use, but based on their credentials.
Yeah.
Now, and it was like a 49-person build-out.
Wow. So big contracts.
Yeah. And so it's big ticket stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's also those clients who come to me, individual recruiters, and go, they've started to see a difference in their ratios. They've started to see a difference in their CV to interview ratios, first stage to second stage. They've started to see an improvement in their advertising response.
Yeah.
They've started to, because they've been managing their clients a lot better, they've started to see less people being deselected because they're not the right culture fit.
Yeah.
It's all of they've had the confidence to have a deep conversation with a client that's asked them off the cuff around what they're doing around ED&I.
Yeah. And they have the
so
answer ready.
it's all those kind of like little things.
Amazing. So and what you offer is you've got trainer courses, but you also can train.
The majority of what I do is kind of like workshop based. I've got the crown jewel, which is my 6-module workshop, where I do that usually over 6 months, where I'm going monthly. I'll train the recruiters, but I will also support my key stakeholder and develop whatever needs to sit behind my training, and work with them to evolve everything they do. I do one-off workshops that are tailored to whatever that particular client's looking for, whether it's reducing and minimizing bias through changing recruitment methodology, or whether it is building out a retained proposition, or it might even be the legal stuff. A lot more of that compliance stuff is coming in, because there's law changes. So the Equality Act, positive action, all of that kind of stuff. And I've just launched my on-demand program, which I'm really proud of. So that gives businesses the opportunity to access me at any time.
I mean, who wouldn't want to pay for that?
And it is not boring video crap. It is really interactive, and something that as a recruiter I wouldn't mind doing.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't look at D&I, it just looks at really good recruitment.
And again, I think that's the unique benefit you bring to the table, right? You can put yourself in the recruiter's shoes to go,
100%.
if I was listening to this.
Because we've all had shit training. And we don't learn anything from shit training.
No, we sure don't. What would you say because to me it kind of seems like, particularly coming maybe back from the US, it seems like ED&I was a really hot topic. Yeah. And then you're seeing some of the bigger, particularly software vendors, etc., in the States, massively dialing back on this. Yeah. So it almost seems like it's had a bit of a
peak and then I'm not seeing that. I think the performers have now got an excuse to end the performance, right? The people who were box ticking anyway, it's fine. I don't think building out high performing teams and creating environments where everybody can thrive and be successful will ever go out of fashion. No. Right? And the equality of human beings. And don't forget, we're not just talking about a tiny percentage of the workforce here. We're talking, if we actually look at what diversity is, we're looking at probably 75% of our workforce that don't belong to majority groups, right? I think obviously some funding has been cut by the administration, which means that certain things can't go ahead. But what I'm noticing is that there's been not a dial back, but an absolute dial up, if there's such a word, by the more strategic stuff.
Right.
You know, the actual. What are we actually doing that changes our business? How can we connect this into, you know, into our all our commercial responsibilities? So maybe gone are the days of the box ticking stuff, you know, and the whatever. But I think it's made us relook at it, and like I say, it's those where it's really important and they understand it as a commercial advantage. They're not going to say, "Oh, we're going to stop doing that."
Yeah.
Those where it was always just
A box tick.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not particularly worried about
And
it.
you talk about high performance teams. How does diversity impact that? Because I know there's stats out there that say, you know, if you do have diversity, say in the boardroom or in any team, then it does increase your performance. But how do you try to?
I mean, look, we've got the data. It's to, you know, it's like there's so much data out there that supports it. It gets a bit boring talking about it, you know. 33%, you know, increase in profit and blah 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 blah. But actually, when we think about it, what happens when we get the same people with the same lived experience and the same mindsets that agree with each other making critical business decisions? Right?
Yeah.
The best advice that we have as business owners is from people that are not in the trenches, right? When we bring in fresh perspectives. And you look throughout history. Have you ever read Matthew Syed's Rebel Ideas?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's all based on diversity and inclusion. And
I know a bunch of people used to be coached by him at table tennis, actually.
Really?
Yes.
And it tells the story of when we don't have diversity and we don't have inclusion. And I mean, look at the state of the world at the moment, right? We've got a load of really grumpy old men destroying shit, right? Is there diversity in those rooms? No.
No, they tend to attract much of the same and group together.
You know, some of the best ideas you have of a business, as a business, come from the most unexpected places or other people's perspectives. How can you build products and services for people if they're not in your business? Yeah. Right? Yeah. And also, we all know what it's like to work for toxic organisations where we're not heard and seen, and we know how that directly affects our performance. So, with your own business, people love going to work, great culture. You're a high-performing business. That's not just down to the fact that people get paid to show up there. It's the fact that people enjoy showing up there.
Yeah.
And you've created a space where people can say, do you know what, boss, that ain't working. That's costing us loads of money. Yeah. Or actually, I've got a better idea. Or in my other company, we did something that was similar to that. And we're not just hiring people because they can, you know, because they can do a thing. We're hiring people's brains.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
People's ideas for innovation.
But you need to make sure you harness it, right?
Exactly. And innovation comes from different people, not when everybody thinks the same.
Yeah. Well, Jo, thank you so much. If you are interested in contacting Jo, then again, the website is down at the bottom. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so
much.
And
I will see you later today.
See you later and good luck.
Later. Yeah, and you. Thanks, Jo. See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And I'm pleased to announce that the winner of the Maria Harrison Talent Tech Growth Award is Meet Dwight.